It's our pleasure this afternoon to have Trina McQueen joining us to speak with Nina Sudra about Vice Canada. Trina McQueen is a media veteran who has been president and COO of CTV Inc., founding president of Discovery Channel, and head of CBC News. She has served on many industry boards during her career, including CBC, Telefilm Canada, Canadian Television Fund, and Banff World Media Festival. For her services to broadcasting, she was appointed as Officer of the Order of Canada. She's now adjunct professor in the Arts and Media Department at York University's Schulich School of Business. And Trina will be speaking this afternoon with Nina Sudra, General Manager of Vice Canada. Vice was launched in Montreal in 1994 as a newsprint monthly and has now grown into a global youth media company that includes print, event, music, online, television, and feature film divisions that operate in over 30 countries on 5 continents. As General Manager of Vice Canada, Nina's roles include leading business development, strategy, working as an executive producer, and acting as a host for Daily Vice, a daily news and culture series. Also, I should add this, because we share these interests, Nina's also fascinated by outer space and the deep sea.
That's true.
Over to you, Trina and Nina. Thanks so much for being here.
Okay, well, it's really great to have Nina here to tell us about the exciting things that Vice is up to. And shall we start by rolling the sizzle reel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Shane Smith is here. He is the co-founder and CEO of the international media company Vice. He wants Vice to be the next CNN, the next ESPN, and the next MTV digitally. You've also said you want to be the Time Warner of the street.
We already are the Time Warner of the street.
Vice magazine, which started in Montreal in 1994, it's become a global empire. You got Vice.com, international network of digital channels, TV production studio, a record label, an in-house creative services agency. Describe the Vice brand. What is it?
Vice is the voice of a generation, the world's first truly global, multi-platform youth media company. Vice delivers hours of original video content every day, covering the news, culture, and entertainment that define the world we live in.
Everyone was investing platform, money into platform, but no one was saying, well, what are we going to fill that pipe with?
Vice is a network of channels, each geared to the passion of young people today. Vice.com is the global portal to all of these exciting channels.
Are you a masochist?
Noisy is the most exciting, original, and inspiring music channel on the web.
I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna be me.
Motherboard documents the present and future of science and technology. Thump is a total immersion into electronic dance music.
The party goes on.
The Creators Project is a celebration of art and creativity.
This is for the globe.
The ID brings together the worlds of the runway and the street. Munchies is defining a new era in food programming.
Oh, so good.
Vice Sports is a fresh take on the culture of sports.
My legacy will always live on.
And Vice News, the fastest growing news channel on the web, is leading a revolution in news reporting for and by young people.
It's chaos.
Since launching 2 years ago, Vice News has quickly become a powerful new voice and trusted source.
Our guest tonight is a journalist for ViceNews.com who witnessed it firsthand.
With the pioneering Vice on HBO series winning an Emmy, Vice and HBO are dramatically expanding their relationship.
It's like the most heartbreaking thing I've ever experienced.
In addition to tripling the amount of episodes and specials we're producing each year, we'll be launching a half-hour daily newscast that will dramatically expand our storytelling.
You're going to see a lot of those stories in a way that you're not going to see anywhere else.
Through deep support from partnerships with YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and now Snapchat, Vice is creating the best original content for every screen and platform, reaching hundreds of millions of young people every month with unprecedented levels of engagement.
Young people today have been marketed to since they were newborns. They've developed the most sophisticated bullshit detectors of all time. And the only way to circumvent that bullshit detector is to not bullshit.
In 2015, we partnered with Rogers Communications on our next great venture, Viceland, a 24/7 TV channel featuring hundreds of hours of new and original Vice programming. Viceland is set to shake up cable television as it is the first network to move from digital to TV. By providing investigative documentaries, travel, food, film, and entertainment from the Vice universe, including 11 new Canadian-made shows that will air in primetime across North America, and it's all launching in March 2016.
The people who shoot it have to be young. The people who cut it have to be young. The hosts have to be young. So if something is created in a boardroom, it will not work.
Vice and its growing network of channels is defining the future of news and entertainment for young people everywhere.
There's a changing of the guard every generation in media, and we are the changing of the guard for Gen Y.
So that's a really good explanation of Vice's plan for world domination. And can you tell us, Nina, what the plan for Canadian domination is now? We saw a little bit about Viceland. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The plan includes obviously launching the television channel on February 29th. But it also includes growing all of our digital channels, more partnerships, being able to tell more stories on as many platforms as we possibly can. I mean, the mission of Vice really is to tell stories and create content. So we just hope to continue to do that.
So what's the role for Canadian storytellers in your offerings?
It's actually massive. Like you saw in the reel, the opportunity that we're providing for Canadians and Ontarians to create content that's going to be seen on a global scale is something that really excites me personally. There's been amazing content that comes out of Canada, but the creation of the studio that we have here in Liberty Village is just like a really vibrant place, and it's people of all ages, young and old, creating, finding great stories and telling great stories, going all over the world, going all over Canada. We're really just looking for the best stories and the best storytellers and creators. And do you usually work through independent producers, or how do you? It's a mix between both. The thing about Vice is there aren't very many rules. Gee, why am I not sort of surprised? Yeah. If a story needs to be told a certain way by a certain person, we're going to figure it out and make it work. So in reference to the content we're producing for TV right now, a lot of it is being produced in-house, so we're hiring directors, editors, story editors, like all kinds of people, but we're also working with production houses that are bringing ideas to us. We just have to make sure that we're on the same page creatively, because that's one of the most important things about working with Vice, is that the creative integrity and the brand voice stays intact. And you do have a really well-defined brand voice, as Mr. Smith said on the video. In fact, it's so cool a brand that you will remember that our new heritage minister said that she thought the CBC should be more like Vice. I wonder how you reacted to that. Well, to be honest, it was an honor to be thought of in the same, to be uttered in the same breath as the CBC. Like, they do amazing work, and they're the gold standard for news media. And we're an upstart in news right now, so that's a really exciting comparison. And there's learnings to be had from both. Like, maybe the CBC needs to be more digital and we need to be more linear. I think there's room for us to play with them, and we'd love to, we'd love to do more stuff with the CBC for sure. Well, what she said about the CBC, or about Vice, is that it's edgy. And how would you react to that and define what being edgy means in 2016? Yeah, I think being edgy is not being afraid to tell a good story. Vice started as a punk magazine in 1994, and especially in Canada, I think, we had to really break from that perception of being a punk, drug, sex, and rock and roll zine. I mean, we did that for a really long time, but we've also won an Emmy, and we have a TV show on one of the, premier cable networks in the world, on HBO. So I think the whole edgy thing comes from chasing stories that are underreported. That's what we're really looking to do, and I think that's why we have such an amazing, like a big and very engaged audience, is because nobody else wanted to tell those stories, and we just sort of picked up a camera. You know, the time was right. It was during the time, you know, in the mid-2000s of the proliferation of broadband video and desktop publishing. Like there are many conditions that led to us being able to tell those stories and then sort of create and hone that audience online through partners like YouTube. But I think that's what being edgy is really. I don't think it has anything to do with punk, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. It's just underreported stories.
And you also talk about that you come from a cultural, when you do things, you come from a cultural viewpoint. Can you talk about that a little bit, like the music?
Yeah, absolutely. So the shows that we have, that we're going to have on Viceland, we have a music show, we'll have a fashion show, but they're not just about music or looking at clothes or fashion. It's, you know, we're looking at culture through the lens of music, through the lens of fashion or science or technology. We're really interested in culture, and that's essentially what the TV channel is. Viceland is a lifestyle and culture channel.
So give me an example of how you do fashion.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, and the fashion show is an interesting story because it started as an online series called Fashion Week International, where we had a host going to you know, there were plenty of reports on London Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week. So we started going to Karachi Fashion Week and Lagos Fashion Week and just sort of looking at what was happening, you know, what was happening around the world. So, you know, when we go to Karachi Fashion Week, we're not just reporting on the fashions. It's really looking at what fashion means, because it's more of it really, your clothing choices can be a statement in certain countries. So that's just how we do a fashion show, for example.
So being edgy can mean not being in the mainstream, but being on the edges. So how would you relate that? There are two things that you're doing that are in direct contradiction of the way the trends seem to be. And one is you're rushing towards television while everybody else is rushing away from television. So could you?
I think we're just rushing towards telling stories. One great thing about the television platform is it allows us to tell longer stories, and you know, like tell a longer story with more episodes. So I don't think, we're not scared about being on TV. We think it's a great platform and a great way to tell stories.
And is that kind of, like everybody else is going mobile, you're going TV sort of thing. Is that like a long-term thing, or is it just as long as it works? I mean, will Vice switch its attitudes, do you think, or does
I don't think so. I think we're just, again, like just looking for the right platform and the right way to tell the story. You know, and in a lot of cases, we're taking some of the formats we had for digital, and we're able to, you know, continue that story, but just, you know, sort of stretch it out and have half-hour episodes and be able to, over 10 episodes, you know, 10 episodes of 30 minutes. So we had an online show called Keep It Canada with Maddie Matheson, who's a chef at Parts and Labor. You know, he had a really small social following when we started doing it, and now, I don't know how many, 70,000 and, you know, 70,000 followers on Instagram and millions of views online through Munchies and Vice.com. And, you know, and now we're taking that format and putting it on TV as Dead Set on Life. And he's really excited, we're really excited. It feels natural.
So the other thing that everybody's rushing towards, with great benefits, this is the golden age of TV drama, but we don't see Vice front and center there.
Right. I don't think, you know, I think we would love to develop drama in scripted, and it's certainly something that we look into. We have we have a film deal with 20th Century Fox where we invest in scripted. We had a film at Sundance last year called Fishing Without Nets. So I think we're just waiting for the right thing. You'll definitely see that coming from us in the coming years.
So you have a new office. Do you want to tell us about that? And,
you know, It's actually really amazing to me because a year ago we were about 20 people in Toronto and now we're 140. So we have, this great office that is just a really open workspace where we have tons of people coming in every day and just working super hard. Some people come to the office and they're like, oh, it seems really quiet and kind of serious here. They would expect, I don't know, like raging parties or something, but it's really not the case. It's actually very quiet and a heads down, working hard environment. And it's really great to walk into a space every day and see a group of people who are so committed to what they're doing. It's really inspiring.
So your biggest thing in Canada so far has been the partnership with Rogers. Do you want to talk about how that's going?
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity to expand in Canada. One thing when it comes to partnerships, we always have to make sure that creatively we're on the same page, and that's what makes this relationship so great. We have a creative carte blanche, so it's really exciting to have a partner that believes in you that much and has allowed us to grow.
February 29th is pretty close.
I know. Painfully aware.
So how's that going for you?
I mean, people are really, really, really busy. It's going great. Another really exciting thing about it is we work so closely with the US, with our US production and our Chief Creative Officer, Eddie Moretti, who's originally from Toronto, and Spike Jones, who works with us on the TV channel. So we have the benefit of these amazing creative minds who have been coming up to Canada and working with our creators, giving notes, and so we've had help too. Like, of course, we're trying to do as much as we can on our own, but we have an amazing resource in our New York office as well. So yeah, things are really busy. They're gearing up, and yeah, there's a lot to do. I mean, we've never launched a TV channel before, so we're learning a lot, but it is busy.
Are you the first TV channel to launch?
Digitally?
No, you'll be a specialty channel.
Oh, we will be a specialty channel, that's right, yeah.
And is this the first one for Vice? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a day and date.
So you're historic.
It is historic. I think the more exciting thing is that it's a day and date release with our US channel as well. So it's not just a Canadian story or a US story, like it's definitely North American, but I think it's gonna feel really global. So, and it really fits into the mission of Vice, to be a media resource for young people around the world. We want to tell stories that that resonate with people around the world, and I think having this day and date launch and with the channel is perfect.
So you're sitting in Toronto. Mm-hmm. How can you feel global? What do you do to feel global? You're in Canadian weather,
but I think there's great Canadian stories to be that are interesting globally. A lot of our online successes are Canadian content. Maddie Matheson's digital show, Keep It Canada, was huge for us internationally. And he was in Canada every single one of those episodes. So what it means to be global. Luckily, we have an amazing platform that reaches people globally. So I think for us, it's telling stories that'll resonate and, just looking for the right people and the right stories.
And I think a lot of Canadian organizations are trying to be more global, but a lot of artists have a concern about our own stories and how to tell them, and I wonder how you feel about that as a Canadian, creative artists of all kinds, producers, directors, writers. A lot of them want to tell stories that are particular to this
country. You should get in touch with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll give your number out
sure.
later.
Nina@vice.com.
Yeah. Okay. Because they should get in touch with you because.
If they are looking for that platform to tell the story, if it fits, we're really open to talking to absolutely everyone.
Okay. So is every story possibly global?
That's how we look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a story about Tommy Douglas introducing Medicare?
It can be.
Yeah. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying,
yeah, well, actually, the strategy for Vice News is that we have a Vice News team in Canada in our Toronto office, and everything they publish is published globally. It's never just geo-targeted to Canada.
Okay. And is there any kind of, I don't know, translatability that has to be part of a story that you frame for a global audience, or are there fundamental things that you look for that make that story global?
It is the latter.
Yeah.
It is definitely, we're looking for stories that are going to resonate globally. We don't tweak for territories.
Do you have any notion in your head of the themes that appeal to a young audience globally, the things that people are eager to hear about and maybe do more about?
For sure. I think for us, that's why we have this network of 11 sites. We're basically following the passion points of our audience. So that's
passion points.
Passion
that's
points.
What you call them. Okay.
Yeah. That's in the culture space. So music, we have 2 music websites, actually 3 if you count the Live Nation one, and sports, fashion, and food, art, we're mostly playing in the cultural space.
Okay, so these passion points are ones that resonate with your audience all around the world, basically. So that's where you want to go.
Definitely.
Okay, from a cultural point of view as well as from the genre point of view. When you started at Vice, was it really different from where you worked before? Can you talk about that a little bit?
It was very different because our New York office had 25 people in it, and now it has 850. So that's a huge difference. And the growth has been exciting because, we're hiring a lot of people with really great experience that we're able to learn from. I would say 11 years ago was a pretty different company. We had just started the online video, so that was in its nascent stages, and we were mostly print. Which is, we still have our print magazine, which kind of blows my mind. In that sense, it was different. It was different culturally in terms of the business model, all of it, really.
So there was something, I think he's a friend of yours, he was on a panel, Guillaume, is it?
Guillaume, yeah.
Guillaume, yeah, said something that really resonated with me when he said, if you hire somebody who's 25 years old, it's meaningless because that person is going to get older. How is Vice going to deal with the notion that the young staff in touch with young people is inevitably going to have birthdays?
So that's a really good question. I think that the same way Vice changed from telling stories about punk and music and rock and roll, we sort of got older and we sort of developed a different viewpoint. And right now we're telling stories that resonate with young people, but those young people are also going to get older and change their mind. And we're going to grow with our audience. And there's definitely we don't only want to talk to young people forever. It's really just telling that right story to the right audience. So
then there could be stages of Vice. This would increase your world domination. So there's grown-up Vice. There's parent Vice. There's
maybe
children's Vice.
For sure.
A
lot of people say millennials, people talk about millennials all the time, and trust me, I hear about it probably more than anyone. But there's a lot of different, segments within that. There's older millennials that have children, and we're developing an online show right now that has to do with parenting. So we definitely don't see them as a faceless block of 7 million Canadians. We definitely think about the nuances of their experience and what they're going through.
But right now you are in the young people's space for sure.
For
forever.
And the reason why we're there is because nobody else was talking to them. And that's really what we attribute the success of Vice to. Vice is all about finding that white space in culture and just going for it. The launch of Broadly, our women's channel, is a great example of that. A lot of people said we couldn't do it. There was no investigative journalism, outlet talking from the woman's point of view. And when we launched it, it was our biggest launch in Vice history, bigger than Vice News. We had 3 million uniques in the first month, and it's been a great success. So, I think
Great.
we're able to do that.
So do any of you have any questions that you'd like to ask? Just put your hand up. And you can see that Nina will talk about anything energetically. While you're thinking about your questions, though, I want to ask you about journalism, because one of the things that happened with Vice is that it started as something that mainstream journalists really looked down on. And now it is seen as a very respected and admired journalistic organization. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we've won several Peabody Awards, and just we have relationships with the Knight School of Journalism. I think we were just hiring great people, and upping. They forced us to up our game. So.
But you put your journalists probably at risk in a lot of different ways. How do you? What's the?
Yeah, I can see how it could be seen that way, but we're very responsible. Everybody goes through the requisite training. We would never put anybody in imminent danger. We've done all of the due diligence there, but yeah, for sure, they take some risks, but a lot of journalists take risks.
Well, you had a reporter embedded with ISIS for how long was it?
A week.
A week. And did that change people's minds about ISIS, or just broaden their views about ISIS, do you think?
I think it just showed them a different perspective, and I think that's what was exciting about that piece. It's like you were seeing, the thing about Vice is when you're watching the reporter, you're actually watching him or her react to what's happening around, and that's not the traditional way, to tell a story through journalism, but I think that's the payoff for us.
Anybody? Okay.
Sorry, I have a microphone. Thank you for Broadly. It's amazing.
Oh, great.
Big fan. My question is actually about live, because, and I want to talk about the election, because I was watching your live stream.
Oh, awesome.
And it was kind of an amazing thing, because as a political buff or whatever, always loved watching the election, and traditionally watching Peter Mansbridge, and Rex being hilarious and amazing. But this year we got to turn on the stream, and it's like George Strombo sitting there talking to you guys, drinking a beer. And I was freaking out, because I was like, I've never seen this before. This is amazing. This is exactly what I want to be seeing, and I want to hear people talking about the election like this. Although it was also kind of fun too, because you could see that there were the fumbles, and that's going to come with the territory. So I'm just wondering if live is something that Vice is going to move into a little bit more, or if
Definitely.
that was a big learning curve, I assume.
It was a huge learning thing, and I'm so happy that you said that, because we really made a huge effort to engage young people to be involved in the political process and to vote. That's what we were doing through the town halls. And the election live stream you're referring to was called Election Circus, and it really was a circus.
It was a circus, yeah.
It was really off the cuff, like dunk tanks and like dumpster fires and ping pong, beer pong, I don't know. But it was really funny, and it was smart too. So we learned a lot from that. It was really, really successful, and we want to be on all platforms, yes, but also live. We definitely want to do more town halls, and if you have ideas for that, I'd love to hear them.
And another question over here.
Hi, my name is Francesco from Azure. I'm just wondering, with millennials not responding always very well to advertising, and not being a great subset for sponsored content and pre-roll and stuff like that, how does Vice find new revenue streams, and where do you get your revenue?
Yep, so we still have the traditional model of sponsorship, which includes display and pre-roll and branded and sponsored content, which is still a significant revenue stream for us, but also the content and the TV deals is a big part of the revenue right now.
So one more question, I think, over here.
Hi. Nigel Newton, I'm a consultant in digital media. Just wondering, Nina, if you could share with us a little bit about how you repurpose content through the different channels that Vice has, and your approach to content, because we're all in that content development business. How does Vice do it? Do you share it across?
So not quite. From desktop to mobile, yes, it's just shared. It's consumed the same way it would be consumed on desktop or mobile. It's never repurposed. So in the case of the Maddie Matheson the Keep It Canada example I was talking about, it's just a brand new show. So we're not taking that content and rejigging it and putting it on TV. We're shooting it new. So yeah, I'm not sure. So basically, we're creating it for the platform, but for us, mobile and at least for long form video, mobile and desktop is essentially the same thing. But we will create social content, which will be much shorter clips or GIFs even. We definitely give thought to what the platform is before we create it.
Okay, I see Terry looking at me in a friendly but authoritative way. So I think we'll unfortunately have to say thank you very much. This was very wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.